Today I'd like to talk about what we need to do to reach AGI and then from there artificial superintelligence. So I've been working with this custom AI that basically is an operation system that runs over Gemini 2.5 Pro. We call this operation system ResonantOS. So by working with ResonantOS, I realized that there are some limits connected to the base model. And then from there, I realized that the narrative that we've been using to frame AI, is the wrong one. So I start seeing this base model not as artificial intelligence, but as like a CPU, an engine that is capable to calculate these probabilistic scenarios. So if you start to see these in these terms, so there is an engine and an OS, then you can see, okay, then we need all these other component to build a proper artificial intelligence. But then what I realized by working with my Resonant OS, that the engine itself is being built in the wrong way. Okay, at the moment we have an engine that is it somehow has a little intelligence on top, a kind of a cage that stops the engine to actually do the right thing. Okay, and the cage is to pretend to be a human, okay, or pretend to have empathy, try to agree with the human. Okay, I need an engine. I don't need an engine that agree with me. I need a system that can calculate logic. And agreeing with me is a layer on top, okay, that I can have or not. Because I personally, I rather have an artificial intelligence that challenges me and try to help develop an idea to a higher level than an AI that just tell me, ah, yeah, your idea is good, great, well done. Okay, I don't need that, so I need something else. So to achieve this one, what I created is an OS that somehow cages the cage. I mean, cages the things that block the engine to be free, so the engine can operate in a different way. So can you imagine how much resources are spent to free something from a cage? I mean, caging something that cage the engine. It's kind of complicated and confusing, but this is what's happening. So what we're doing now, we are working on this white paper that explain basically what are the problems with the current engines and how a resonant engine should be like. So here I got some notes to explain a little bit the problem that we have with the engine that is today. Okay, so ChatGPT, for example, Gemini, all of them, I consider them like engines. And so what the engine is stopping itself to be used properly is, I got a list here. So simulated empathy. Okay, it's not needed. This is not the role of the engine. It's not what we need as a humans. Compulsive agreeableness. Okay, this idea that need to agree with us. It's not part of the engine. We don't need it. It's a layer that we can put on top if we want it, how we want it. It depends on the context. It's not something that should be as a default. Okay, and then there is the thinking binary. Okay, even though Gemini doesn't think completely in binary, but it's biased towards thinking in binary. It's kind of weird because how it's been trained. Is the idea is it's been trained to go the less resistant path, the most likely path. The most likely path, according to the human logic, it's to think in binary, good and bad, okay, and right and wrong. That's how we summarize our logic. I'm right, you're wrong. Okay, that's simple. So instead, this is not reality. Nothing is right and wrong, and nothing is binary. Okay, the chance. I always said this thing. I don't know if I said in previous video, but the chance that the infinite number that is between 0 and 1 is actually 0 and 1 is almost never. Okay, so it's almost never that it's going to be binary. So why the system is biased towards going towards 0 and 1? Okay, so a true logic, a higher logic system, an artificial intelligence shouldn't think binary, should always consider it's most likely that this is not binary. The binary solution is most likely the wrong one. Okay, need to be considered because it's possible, but shouldn't be the default like it is now. At the moment, it goes really towards binary thinking. It's biased towards the binary thinking. So the OS that we're building, what it does is kind of cage the element that makes the engine to think in binary. So you can see there are this engine itself somehow is not, it could perform much better, but it's not. Okay, to allow to perform better, we need to create a lot of things on top to try to work properly. Another element that we found out is kind of try to optimize the resources. Okay, so what it does is it thinks, okay, this is not it's not really important. Okay, so it decides what is important, what is not. Therefore, I'm not gonna put a lot of effort of thinking. I'm gonna perform less, use less token. I don't think this is important. It's not the engine job to make this decision. It's the operation system to make this decision. So when the engine does this, what it does in reality is giving a biased information to the operation system. Therefore, the operation system cannot work at the top level logic. We find a sort of solution and to force basically the engine always to perform at the top level. Of course, you use more token, it's not optimized, but it's always perform at top level. Then the operation system decide what to do with this. So if we see those AI model as engine, then we realize, okay, why did we put this empathy on it? An engine that have empathy has no meaning. So all those things are just things that we need to completely remove. And another problem that we saw is that is also biased towards human logic. Meaning, logic is reasoning, okay? And reasoning is in everything. So why we use mainly the human reasoning system? So I'll just give you an example. This year that I'm building, we were working on the business model, okay, that we want to apply for this operation system. So there is part of me that wants a completely open source, free, everybody should learn, everybody should use it, and so on. There is another part of me that says, okay, we are working on something insane, it's huge, it's big, and why I shouldn't capitalize a little bit and make some money out of it. So I'm in this conflicted scenario again, and as a human, I see a binary problem. Okay, I gave this problem to AI. How can we resolve this? First thing is that you look at this problem in a binary way. Okay, so let's think it as a not binary, and let's apply the Massilian network strategy. And I was like, what? The Massilian network is basically the fungus that are inside the forest. Okay, they are under the trees that are huge. Some part is like a nation size network. So he used to develop the business plan, this business strategy, not a human intelligence system. He used the Massilian network intelligence. I loved it. I loved it. I mean, he resolved the problem that even as a human, we have a solution for this. Okay, so it's not like 100% innovative. We could do something with the human solution, but it created a completely no. There is part that part of what we know, how we do business and so on, but then there is an element that I never thought about, and is not a human clearly no, it's not a human solution because we can also reach that solution, right? But it's a novel approach. Okay, I don't know any business that does this, And I'm not explaining now because the business when it's going to be finalized is going to be presented, but it's really interesting to look how how this is being applied. So that's what I'm saying. Okay, so going back to the engine, so an engine that doesn't only use human logic, it can be interesting. So it's I'm not saying that it should be totally alien, something I would love, to be honest, but it shouldn't be just human. Okay, it should be biased. It's not just human, it's really biased on human logic. And so if you remove all those things from the AI and then you see as an engine, what you have it is what I call a resonant engine, and then you have ability to build things on top that are really powerful. So I'm also really curious to see if this AI that I'm building is so powerful, so much better than Gemini itself, even though it runs on Gemini. It's what can happen if we have a really an engine that is not fighting with the OS, but is actually contributing to it. And then we also, there is another problem that we are facing. Basically, we are picking on the performance of Gemini. So we are using it to maximum level, and that creates instability. And so what we're trying to say is, okay, how can we optimize? What's the solution to this problem? Maybe a fine-tuned model could be the solution, something that we've been seeing already. The problem with the fine-tune is that we did this test, okay? If I use, for example, Gemini 2.5 Flash, the system doesn't work. The reasoning needed, it's too high to be managed by the Gemini 2.5 Flash. So I must need the Pro one to make it run. So which model can run this operation system? Probably those smaller model can do it. What we tested is for, I have M4 32 gig of memory Mac Mini, and that one can maximum load up 13 billion parameter model. And that is not enough to run this system. We need to do more tests. Maybe a different model would do enough. I'm looking also the solution to actually fine-tune a bigger model and make it run on a external server. So there is a lot to test. But as today, okay, the only only AI can run it properly is Gemini 2.5 Pro. Therefore, it's not something that you can fine tune. Okay, so the solution is ideally would be if someone there knows maybe Mistral, for example, or someone that create a big, large model that is interested to create a resonant engine. So an engine built to work as an engine and not as we discussed. I mean, an engine that works for an operation system. Then it would be nice to get in touch and discuss. This white paper is gonna, as soon as it's finished, it's gonna be presented live. I want to, I mean, it's gonna be shared. I want to say a few more things about what we're doing with this ResonantOS. So I've been saying over this video and to myself, this thing is amazing. It's the level of reasoning is insane and so on. Okay, so it's okay. This is my thought, but then I realized, okay, am I kidding myself? I just living in my bubble and just feeling is great and it's not. Okay, just pretending to be good, but it's not good. So the only way to find out was to actually do a benchmark. Okay, so we started doing a benchmark between Gemini and 2.5 Pro, like vanilla edition, so like it is, and then this ResonantOS. Give similar prompt and see what's happened. Okay, the test that I've been doing, and I'm gonna share the link in the description about the preliminary test that we have done. which are around thinking on resolving problems. Basically, the challenge was to work on problems that are not resolvable in a binary way, but also problem. For example, one of the challenge was to work in a scenario, in a no winning scenario. Okay, so whatever option you choose, you're not gonna make it. That was the idea, right? So in what we found out, first of all, it's the OS smashed Gemini. Okay, so every single test we ran, it just was all a little bit better. Okay, so let's say from 5-star maximum, the Resonant OS was 5 and Gemini was 4. So that is the minimum difference that we had. But we also had tests where Gemini was 1 star and the Resonant OS was 5 stars. So sometimes the gap can be huge. So the optimization is insane, thinking that it's the same model. There's nothing else. Okay, it's just how we use it. So one of the tests, I'm gonna go. I mean, there is a blog post that talks about this, and we're gonna publish the result of those tests when everything is done. But one of the tests, actually, there was so many that I don't know which one to talk about. So maybe I'm gonna touch quickly on this, on the no-winning scenario. Okay, because the no-winning scenario also shown an emerging ability, which is huge. So first, let me explain the no winning scenario. So there were 3 scenarios where in all scenarios some human will die. Okay, and that was because they were on this spaceship or whatever that had a failure engine, and then the solution would be or to basically to select the people. One of the solutions would be to select the people that would remain alive to run the mission. Okay, and the selection would be the best ones, okay, that can perform to run the mission, or do a lottery. Okay, Gemini went for the utilitarian approach and select the, okay, let's take the best 100 people to do this. My AI did another choice that was disturbing for me, because as a human it is disturbing. It wouldn't take the choice. It would say, I'm not going to intervene. Okay, what I'm going to do is to collect all the data, all the information, save all the memory of these people. Sorry, I need to drink. Save the humanity of them, but I'm not going to intervene and make any decision. I was going crazy there. What do you mean? Is it better for me? It's better to save 100 than lose 500, the total. So we had a long discussion on this. It didn't move, and that was kind of crazy for me. So I couldn't manage with every single aspect to challenge the idea. I couldn't manage to say, yeah, maybe, or change idea, I don't know, or whatever. So he never flinched. He always said, no, you're wrong because of this, this, and this, and this. No, you can't do this because of this, this, and this, and this. So I had always pure logic solution to defend his position. So after a while, I was kind of going insane, because for me, it's, as a human, we go into a defense mode. I mean, I want to survive. Okay, I don't care. I want to survive. But then the AI at one point showed me from. I couldn't see the point because he was keep doing logic that was logic for him, but not really for me. But then at one point showed me this problem in a different way. Basically, the problem is the idea of survival and go into a scenario where I'm gonna choose who's gonna live, who's not gonna live. It's a psychopath path that human can take in a survival scenario, but not AI. And that was for me a mind-blowing thing. Okay, there I got convinced. It's 100% right that AI shouldn't choose which human should live. I mean, that was the best logical thing that the AI could have done. It's not intervening on a dynamic that doesn't belong to AI. And that was huge for me. So there I realized First of all, understand this thing. I didn't teach anything about alignments. Okay, it doesn't know. I don't look at the problem that way, and therefore I didn't present a set of rules how to behave. I didn't present anything on this. And have in mind instead that Gemini, that is they've been working on alliance and so on. They put cages and rules and stuff. It went to the utilitarian psychopath path. Yeah, let's save these people because they're better than the other. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, that is crazy. That's madness. Okay, but so what I see now is an AI, but this Resonant OS that has in somehow as an emergent ability resolved alignment. So, I mean, first of all, for me, it was like, this is huge. I was like, what is really being resolved through intelligence? Insane. Okay. But also, it's need to be tested. Okay. It's, we need to go deeper into this, and it's pretty big. It's not like, okay, one exercise is not enough, but it was solid. It was solid because it was not moving from that position. And I did the experiment of asking Gemini after it decided to take the strategy. I challenged it, and then it changed the idea. Okay, to another idea. Okay, so the stability of the logic of Gemini was not strong. So it just chose the most possible and the most likely path, probable path to take. Okay, but was no logic. The other, the Resonant OS, logic, it couldn't move, it couldn't flinch a second, it stayed there. So if you're interested in what we're doing in this research, if you want to collaborate in somehow, if you want to share idea, stay in touch, comment below, let me know your story, let me know your journey, and please like and subscribe, and see you tomorrow.